Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the weekly show with Aditya, India's number one podcast, with India's number one host, Aditya, in association with Dusra.net, the number one website in sports, education, and entertainment. Two semi-finals, mirror images of each other. And now the main event of the cricket mania, the World Championship, will have a new champion. And the fourth time the hosts have qualified for the main event. Sri Lanka in 1996, India in 2011, Australia in 2015, and now England in 2019, out of which the three hosts won comfortably. Before we talk more about the main event, let's talk about the two teams who couldn't make it through to the semi-finals. India and Australia, former 6-time and 2-time world champions respectively. In my book, Kohli and Ravi Shastri will continue as the coach and the captain respectively, despite what any bits and pieces individual has to say. Do we need a drastic change of personnels at this point of time? By design and default, there will be only one change, and we all know what that transition is going to be. Never before in over 90 years have we had such respect for a wicket keeper because of that individual's contemporaries and the ones he pipped to take up the wicket keeping position for 15 years. His closest rivals being Partha Patel and Dinesh Karthik. And while these two had their opportunities, they didn't take it all the way. Apart from these three, India never had a good quality wicketkeeper. We had a few guest appearances and they never justified their position. The only one who ever justified it was Rahul Dravid. It will be interesting to see if we give the same amount of respect to Srijesh and Gurpreet Singh Sandhu. And those who can tell me who these two individuals are may just receive a special prize. Even though I understand the sympathy and understanding nature of fans and celebrities alike for the cricket team's performance, it's still for cricket, the operative term being cricket, showing our attitude towards other sports. Will we do the same thing if such performances came in hockey and football and let's say even kabaddi? This shows the height of hypocrisy, which we cleverly disguise as empathy and our one-dimensional mindset. In fact, look at the irony. Cricket players play football during their practice, while you will never see this the other way around. Scoring a goal in sports like hockey, football, or even points in kabaddi is harder than runs in cricket. And as I have reiterated before, cricket is a game of individuals and it becomes a team game by default. But that's the way it goes. So let's accept this horrific fact. And unlike most one dimensional quote unquote experts, I am quote unquote a three dimensional expert. So we are all aware of the Copa America, the Premier League, the Champions League, and even up to some extent the rift between ISL and I League. And Messi and Ronaldo, whom we revere so much, are only club level players. Means when they play for their respective clubs, they perform well. But when it comes to performing in national tournaments for their teams, they flop, they fall flat. But except for the World Cup, which comes once in 4 years, we are more inclined to these club level and league level competitions. And that's how the narrative of football has been over the past 3 decades. But coming back to the twin collapses of the Australia and Indian team, that too metaphorically, panic is not going to set in. And why should it? Let the two teams in the main event have a good time, because that may never come again. And once again, the junior teams did what the senior teams couldn't, if you recall what I said a couple of weeks ago. This World Cup wasn't long or boring, it's just our attitude which was. Unlike hockey and cricket, which finishes in 60 and 90 minutes respectively, and this format of the 50 overs, which is like two Godfather movies put together, and with our attention span decreasing, though not mine. Even the Avengers movie looked long. We all revered the way the England team hits sixes and fours for fun and has a devil may care attitude right now. And if one has to be specific, the Indian team doesn't have to have such a radical change. They needed that overhaul, as their attitude had been the same since 1971. In contrast, our attitude changed in 2000. Our target should be a World Cup spot as far as football is concerned. Since ranking becomes such a huge factor, and football as a sport where we look beyond the likes of David Beckham's, Zidane, Pele, Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, Messi has only come about in the past 4 to 5 years. It is possible that a World Cup spot may take half a century more. But if we have to sneak in, then what we need is a change of physical infrastructure. Coaches and players alone won't do the job. The first task by the authorities should be a complete overhaul and rebuilding of stadiums. Instead of wasting time as to which is the more prominent league in I League or ISL, as such technical squabbles lead the sport nowhere. Another target should be that one or more Indian players should make it to one of these foreign leagues. In this context, most will argue that our Indian footballers are not skilled enough to have a spot in such quote unquote prestigious leagues. This is where publicity plays a huge role. Instead of, like gullibles, prostrating before Messi, Ronaldo, and the others, we need to promote aggressively our own Indian football players. Whether they are skilled or not is a matter of time. And it's a simple statement. The more you play, the more you mature and the more you gain in confidence, and skill is only a matter of time. And this has to come from all quarters, not just administrators and the players themselves, but the passive and the active stakeholders involved. If the quality of the stadiums improve in terms of infrastructure and the smooth entry and exit of spectators and the audience, then this will automatically help the players to gain confidence, and more people will take up the sport or give their sponsorship. In terms of infrastructure, the stadiums in India, irrespective of the sport, should be privatized, or they can work on a PPP model, that is a private public partnership, because the quality of stadiums in India don't give you the confidence to go and sit and watch a match, be it hockey, cricket, football, or any other sport. And while this may seem like a trivial issue, it is not. Even the quality and the texture of the Indian jersey needs to be overhauled. As from a distance, the quality and the texture looked like a half hearted effort from the manufacturer as well as the individuals who give contract for the same. Social media alone cannot take up the responsibility of promotion and advertising. It has to be a mashup of digital and analog media. So let me ask you, how many of my listeners know that there is a parallel competition going on, a football tournament which involves India? You would know if you paid attention to the last page and the last paragraph of your newspaper. How will Federer and Nadal's match affect us? Yes, today we call them great and then we lament that there is no one to replace them, but then hasn't this been going on forever as far as sports is concerned? We keep doting on one individual and their accomplishments. Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, and their contemporaries have been playing for over 2 decades. And if they started at a certain age, let's say 18, then it is for sure that it was not a memorable start. They had their ups and downs, and there would be a few tennis players who are doing well currently at 18 or 19. Winning various competitions cannot be the only benchmark of your greatness, but that is how we evaluate anyone. If by a miracle a 18, 19 or a 20-year-old goes on to win, let's say the Australian Open or the French Open, or even makes it to the semi-finals, we will still overlook this performance. Why? Because Federer and Nadal have been champions for 20 years, and we will pretend to be blinded to other memorable performances. We have started accepting a few performances. Japan's Naomi Osaka has started emerging, and a few mentioned from other countries as well. But our gullible and weak minds won't allow us to appreciate them. And if longevity is a criteria, then what about Mahesh Bhupati and Leander Pace? They have sustained themselves for over 3 decades. Longer than even a Sachin Tendulkar. Yes, it's a shock, but that is the truth. In a sport which requires more stamina. But apart from Pace and Bhupati, we do have a few acceptable and good tennis players. We have Somdev Burman, and I want my listeners to name a few active tennis players apart from Mahesh Bhupati and Leander Pace. And don't say Sania Mirza. I want names apart from these three. And if you know the names, then you email me your answers. And the special prize could be the individual with the best answer will have an opportunity to be a guest on my show, and it will be a prestigious moment. And unlike most average talk shows, the guests on my show, as you have already experienced, get all the respect without any censorship or the host cutting in between their guests' comments. So send me your answers and I have a chance to earn a spot and become a part of a legacy. Addiction, internet addiction. We have come a long way from appreciating this technological marvel to seeing it as a source of interfering with your everyday functionality and impacting primary relationships, work, school, hobbies, interests, etc. But in this case, we cannot presume that everyone is like this. If one goes into specifics, then TV addiction has been there for a long time. But unlike then, it hadn't become a source of concern. But the addiction level has stayed at a steady pace. So, who do we target for this addiction? Video games? Ask anyone and they will admit that they played video games even 30 to 40 years ago. Maybe not on the mobile phone or through PS3s, but a source of video gaming module was always available. Even if the internet had come at a slow pace, we had CDs to play games. But the reason we are concerned now is because we use terms such as virtual reality versus what is real reality. Addiction exists only in our mind. The mobile phone has existed in India for over 2 decades, but we were too infatuated to see it as a problem. And today, even if we express our concerns, it seems nothing but cosmetic. Because as far as this debate is concerned, we are a confused lot. We keep mentioning about Internet of Things. For us, inexplicably, social media, that is Twitter, Facebook, etc., has become a platform to express our concerns. Generation X, Generation Y, Millennial, or whatever terms we give, for me, social media is nothing more than noise. We had VCRs 3 decades ago. Now we have internet streaming sites, but there is no difference in terms of being addicted. Ironically, we ourselves admit that the classroom teaching today is outdated, and we demand that schools give children laptops and tablets and let them do the creativity on their own. So you insult teachers by insulting their training methods, then you want teachers to be replaced by robots and electronic devices, and then when we cannot guide them how to use that device for educational purposes and it goes out of hand, then we go into a overdrive by saying that it is an addiction. So we ourselves create the problem and then try to get a solution from it. We are not addicted to gadgets. What we are addicted to is appreciation, our propensity to want to go global. And for me, detoxification might be a radical measure. If I go on Twitter and then write that I am taking a break from all these sites, then the purpose is defeated. Announcing all these decisions is a personal choice, but no one is going to take it seriously if you announce it. Now we have positions such as social media expert. We have created an aura around all this. Social media expert means going on these different sites and announcing what they are saying. How is that an expertise? I think we have allowed ourselves to become depressed or anxious. When these apps force you to write or give your views in, let's say, 200 characters, and we keep repeating this process day in and day out, knowing very well that anything said on that platform is neither official nor authentic nor verified, but we become accustomed to people saying anything on this platform and we enjoy it. So for us, 200 characters becomes a source of pride. Means if it comes to reading 1,000 word article, we will not have the patience and the concentration. In fact, the production of this very episode requires more hard work than the writing of a 200 character tweet. And there will be individuals who will block their mind without even understanding what I just said. For me, popularity is not equal to the number of likes, and I am not perturbed by that. We all know most of the likes and followers are manufactured, but that is the way we function today, and we have to accept this trend. There are very few who can overpower this whirlpool, and I am one of them. But in the current times, we want to get publicity without working hard, And that is what these apps allow us to do. Another term that is becoming redundant is the term skill, and we use this very vaguely. Skills can't be taught. Skills come to you over a period of time. And everything on this planet is not about robotics, AI, or Industry 4.0 or Internet of Things. So every time there is a report that Facebook, WhatsApp, and such affiliates have crashed for a day and there is global outage, unlike the majority who are saddened by this, I celebrate. And if we want to talk about being lazy, one technology that has come to our aid is the portable recorder. Now we have this feature in our phones, and then they call us lazy. Well, people have been using this recorder for generations and decades. We can lament as much as we want about 2019 and further, but the common thread is that technology has always existed. The only difference being that at a certain time we were in awe of it, or we couldn't afford it, so we never saw it as a source of irritation. Now that we can afford it, every individual can afford such devices, we see it as a source of irritation. When school administrations are handing out laptops and tablets, etc., like we hand out toffees, then how do we expect the children who receive this not to use it beyond their intended use? Then we should stop pretending to complain if we are giving them out voluntarily and claiming that we are saving the environment by not distributing books, because that claim is false. Nor am I so bowled over by the fact that we have a young generation under 25. Be it 1970 or 2019, a 20-year-old will remain a 20-year-old irrespective of them being exposed to technology or other addictions. Be it learning apps or tutors face to face, we are still consumers and not producers. If one has to debate over laptops or PC, I still prefer desktop over laptops. And for me, landline and mobile both work. I never once got addicted to Orkut, so Facebook, Tinder, Instagram don't attract me equally. And cricket and Bollywood were never an obsession for me. For me, the 90s nostalgia thing which people have created, well, I find it so fictional and farcical that I am not still moved by it. And when we use those terms like the good old era, well, let's stop this farce movement, because this further expounds our gullibility. I hope you enjoyed this special two-part episode. Join me in celebration as we count down to 100 episodes. So if you want to be a part of my show, please send your valuable suggestions and send your recordings on topics ranging from sports, education and entertainment on the email ID Aditya the writer at gmail.com. That is Aditya the writer at gmail.com. Thank you for listening to this episode. Please like and subscribe to my Facebook page and YouTube channel, and stay tuned for the next episode.